When you click on a link in a web browser, you're sending a request for information. It's kind of like ordering a pizza, and there's two basic pieces of information in there that are essential to the delivery of the request. There's your location, which is your IP address, and then there's what document you want a copy of. And likewise, when you call to order a pizza, there's two basic pieces of information: my address, and I want a large mushroom and olive pizza with extra cheese. But what if you called and ordered a pizza and they said, okay, are you a high school dropout, high school graduate, some college, associate's degree, bachelor's degree, master's, or a PhD? How much money do you make? What does your daddy do? Do you come from a good family? What's your ethnicity? You'd think, well, that's a little bit intrusive. Why do you need to know that? And they say, well, you're black, right? Hang on, there's a Chinese guy on the other line, and as you know, Chinese are above blacks in the pecking order of ethnic minorities, and so we'll get right back to you. We got to process this guy's request first. Net neutrality is basically the internet equivalent of the fact that that doesn't happen when you click on a link. The servers process the requests in the order that they're received, and they do it in a way that is not prejudicial.
If you look at any other service provider, whether it's electrical or something a little closer like telephones, they're heavily regulated. And if you look at the phone companies, they don't charge different on what kind of thing they're sending. It's voice. So why should the internet companies, which are just sending communications between people, be able to charge different for a type of content? There's no reason for that.
And the internet is a different animal in that the phone business, as an example, has been highly regulated since the beginning, whereas the internet came out of the box really before anybody figured out what it was.
To me, it's a utility in that it's essential. I mean, there's an increasing number of people who work at home using the internet, and if you take the internet away from people, especially from disabled people who can't make it to the library or the magazine stand or something like that, you are drastically reducing their quality of life.
There's no reason that they can't be safely regulated without destroying their business. The internet will still exist without them because there's always going to be someone trying to provide access to it because the network already exists.
Likewise, the total capacity of the internet to transport information is finite. And when you start prioritizing requests from some people who are wealthier or who have agreed to pay more money over other people who are more poor or who have not agreed to pay more money, that does not increase the capacity of the internet to transport information.
I don't see the internet as being neutral in that you have a lot of players out there and they all have a lot of say in what happens on their networks.
What are the odds that I'm going to hear information that are critical of that company over its wires?
I live in Alameda, so we have Alameda Net, and Comcast is hating it because we have our own local provider, and it's not easy for the local provider. I mean, you know, they have serious money problems right now because the technology is expensive, and that's why the big businesses have the money to invest in the technology, and hopefully give people what they want.
3 years ago, I had a choice between the phone company and the cable company, and on paper, I still do. If the advertisements on television are to be believed, I still do. But the phone company, which is SBC, and the cable company, which is AT&T Comcast, are now the same company. And so I really don't have a choice.
Yeah, and these companies also are getting into the content business, like AT&T now buying up Comcast. I mean, my mom gets on the computer and every day she clicks on the home button on her browser and it takes her to Comcast The Fan, which shows her news and her sports and her blah, blah, blah entertainment. And, I mean, you know Comcast doesn't want you looking at Google Video or YouTube, which they're getting no dollars from.
And another thing to keep in mind about the internet, it works pretty well as it is. I mean, every day millions of people connect and they send tens or hundreds of millions or maybe even billions of requests for information, and the vast majority of those requests are processed. And then if you look at the fraction of a % of requests that aren't processed effectively, the reason that those fail usually is not caused by the internet being neutral.
The internet works just fine the way it is. There's an untold amount of business and commerce going on every single day, how it is now. And all that net neutrality is wanting to keep it the same. where everybody's content, everybody's communication has the same value. To host a web page, I mean, you don't even need access to you don't even need to own a computer. You could go on to an internet cafe, log in, build a MySpace in 2 seconds, and be content that's world readable. So basically, everybody who's not the top 1% of companies has a lot to lose if we lose equal access to it.
I would say to regulate content at this point would be putting the cart before the horse.
Passing content between two people does not mean you own that content. And since the companies inside the United States own the access to the internet, even though they don't own the internet or the content, they control it in a very scary way. If they're able to be the ones that decide what content is premium and what content is devalued, then the whole thing's shot, and there's no freedom of speech.
It's the content that gives the internet its value. And each individual company can say, we own this wire, this OC45 that goes from the Mae West data center in San Jose to this other data center in San Francisco, but nobody owns the whole internet. The internet belongs to the people in the same way that the streets belong to the people.
The only thing we have left for free and open communication in a way that reaches a large audience is the internet.
People should pay attention. People should not rely on major news organizations to tell them everything that they need to know about the internet, because those major news organizations are increasingly the same organizations that are providing their access to the internet. I mean, think about MSNBC. That's Microsoft merged with the National Broadcasting Corporation. Two great tastes that taste great together.